In this lesson, we look at the role of the manager in people management in modern organisations. People management is not just about the human resources function, it is predominantly and primarily about the role of the manager in managing all resources, including human ones. Guys, this graphic illustrates one of the key issues around HR management and people management in general in modern organisations. As you can see, the little quote in the centre column, "Help, is that HR? I have a people problem. Surely that's HR's job," is quite a common thing that HR professionals get from line managers. I guess that's always a problem when you have a specialism, that people then seek to make everything related to that specialism your challenge or your problem, and to some extent move away from their own problems and challenges. But that's not the way it should be. So for example, the quality manager will quite often find people telephoning them or asking them to solve problems with quality, but that's not what it's about. The quality manager is there to implement quality systems quite often, but managers manage those, and the quality manager gives guidance. Likewise with HR. The HR exists, the function itself exists, to help managers manage better and more effectively. It is of course true that such as employment law is increasingly complex, and HR professionals can take a little bit more time than your average manager to read up on things like latest employment cases. Thus, think of HR pretty much as you would a lawyer or accountant. They're there for you to turn to when you have a problem, or you simply want the latest advice and perhaps good practice. But it remains a fact that managers are responsible for managing their people. That is not the role of human resources in a modern economy and organisation. Of the line manager in human resources today. The key, of course, is to implement the HR policies that have been put in place by the HR department and above. So, for example, there will be discipline and grievance policies, sickness absence policies, annual leave policies, and so on. So, although these may have been devised by HR, it is up to the manager, with the guidance of human resources if necessary, to implement those, to ensure that their staff meet those, or to help staff take advantage of any policies that may help them in their work or indeed their family life. Really importantly, however, is that the HR section cannot motivate staff from a distance. It is the line manager, the supervisor, the departmental manager who is there day in, day out to actually monitor how well staff are doing and motivate them to greater productivity, to better jobs and sustainability. So a really important role of the line manager, whether that be the supervisor or the departmental manager or operations director even, is to train and coach people. So what can they do to help people become more productive in their work? What can they do to enlarge people's jobs, to give them greater job satisfaction and to retain and develop them? It is not for some far distant or flung person in an HR department to do this, but for the line manager. Of course, the line manager can look to human resource management policies and indeed HR people perhaps at the centre to help them in both motivate staff and train and develop them. Perhaps the HR people can identify training and development solutions once the manager and that member of staff identifies what it is they are trying to achieve. Of course, HR do get involved in what is called transactional issues, such as paying people on time, making sure the change of circumstances is recorded, and so on. But HR really is more strategic in many ways, and therefore it is for the line manager to implement policy, motivate staff, and train and coach them. It is absolutely critical that a manager must have openness and trust with their staff. There is absolutely no point to a manager and a member of staff not trusting each other. So it is therefore critically important that the member of staff can trust what the manager says. We will talk about this later in other management modules if you subscribe to them, but this is the most critically important part if a management and staff relationship is to develop. Of course, this cannot really be done remotely. It cannot be done by some human resource function, but has to be done by the line manager. We spoke earlier about appraisals. And appraisals are critically important because they fundamentally look at the way in which that member of staff is meeting their obligation to the organisation. But it also looks at the way in which the organisation can perhaps develop that person in order to be more productive, to have greater job satisfaction, and of course to assist in retention. Recognition, linked very much to appraisal, but not simply to the annual appraisal meeting, is the whole subject of recognition. Managers should recognise and praise staff on a regular basis. Of course they should give them constructive feedback when things are not going as well, but they must remember to make genuine observations about good work when that is happening. I do not mean that every day or every evening you should necessarily have a manager saying to staff that was a job well done. It is probably better to take examples, to talk to staff about jobs well done, and to consider why that particular job was well done. In other words, managers should have meaningful recognition discussions with staff on a regular basis. Again, that is not really the role of human resource management professionals because they are very often at a distance and perhaps do not even appreciate the intricacies of the work that person is doing. It is therefore nigh to impossible for HR professionals to give constructive feedback or indeed to praise in a realistic and meaningful way. I hope what I am getting across is that managers really are the key to good productivity and good organisations. Of course, HR people are crucial. They look at the bigger strategic picture, they take transactional issues such as payment, which are really important to the organisation and to the individual workers. They help, they guide, they assist managers, but ultimately managers have the responsibility for human resources, just as they would for very often financial resources or other assets.